Hello.
Hello.
I'm Eve.
And I'm Jaron.
And we are
People.
filming a podcast today.
That is happening. Absolutely.
Welcome to Wild Woman Podcast. Thank you for everyone who is watching right now. We can edit it.
Perfect.
We can crop it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm sure it's great anyway. Wild Woman Podcast.
This is my Wild Woman Podcast. We featuring Jaron. This is my first feature on my podcast. Much more to come. The
So
vision.
honored.
Are you honored?
I'm honored to be here.
You should be.
It's wild.
This is wild, and it's gonna get wild, and it's gonna get raw, and I wanted to say kinky.
Kinky.
So
That's my field.
we're bringing some truth, some rawness, some realness, some lightfulness, some joyfulness, and laughter into this podcast. And it's going to be right here, Wild Woman. There will be many more podcasts to come with many more features, so that is what you guys can look forward to within this project. Thanks. Thanks for supporting me. My initiation is with a union, because obviously calling in the Divine Masculine. So as I'm calling in the Divine Masculine, I feel I'm initiated deeply into my truth and my love within myself, so that I'm able to give that love and sustain that love when it is right in front of me. I've done the healing work, or been on a healing journey, so that I can receive more love and joy. And many times people think, oh, we're doing the healing work to be able to hold pain. But I don't believe that we do healing work to hold pain. I think that we do the healing work to hold more love and more joy when it's placed right in front of you. And something that recently has been surfacing is it's hard for me to sometimes receive love, receive compliments, receive gifts, receive love. And I just get overwhelmed and I run from it. And an example is at the farmer's market a little while back, a lady gifted me something and then I never wanted to go again.
Really?
No, really.
So do you feel guilt from it? Is that what kind of comes up? Like you feel like you have to give back, and there's this level of guilt of I'm taking and I'm not giving anything in return. And
yeah, it's for sure the level of reciprocity that I feel like I have to give back when I'm given something. Like if someone gives me something, it's now I feel this, I need to think of something to give back to them. Otherwise I just will avoid them at all costs.
You know, a great thing that we can always give back that takes nothing.
What is it?
Love.
Love.
You appreciate them, you love them, you compliment them.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
You can make them smile while they give you something to make you smile. It's an even exchange. You know?
Yeah.
I also have difficulties receiving a lot of times when I'm complimented and people uplift me and speak so highly of me. I'm always like, please, I'm not,
me.
no.
I'm nobody.
But to tell myself, I will receive, thank you.
Yes.
You know, and also the continuing, the consistency, you know, calling in love, loving yourself. This journey has been also such a main focus of my life as well, and what I'm wanting to heal. But one of the big things that I've, kind of decided to perceive love as is love is only something I give. If I remove the expectation from others or the need or the want from others, and I just say, you know what, I'm going to give it. And I don't care what I get back, because that's not why I give it. The reason I give it is because I want it. But I remove the needing of that want, and I just say, you know what, I will give it with every person and every moment. And when I don't, I have to catch myself. Jaron, you know what, you can actually do better. You can be more present for others, you know?
Yeah. Oof, I love it because it's you're choosing to give even when you're not receiving that love. You're choosing to love even when that love is not being returned to you or reciprocated in that moment. Because sometimes people can't meet you there in that love at that moment. But we hold people through the pain, through the sadness, through the joy, through all of the times, and that's choosing to truly love someone. And there's a part in the Bible that I love because it talks about how if we only give when we receive, then what better are we than any other person? Like, if we only give because we're getting something in return, or we only choose to love someone because of the love that they're giving back to you, then you're not showing like the Christ consciousness of embodiment of unconditional love. Because unconditional love is to love someone when you're not getting your
giving,
expectation. Right? Yeah, you're releasing your expectation of what I'm going to get back if I love this person, if I do these things, which we were talking about the investment. I think that when we invest our time into people, when we invest our energy into people, we want some type of return, which comes with expectation. Because if you're investing, you're expecting a return.
Right.
You're expecting some type of return from all of what you're investing. If you're investing money, you want some type of return. It's the same with time, but it comes with expectation. If you're investing with an expectation,
right.
I'm doing this because there's a possibility of what you're going to give back to me. But maybe that person never meets that expectation.
No.
And then you decide to hold that against that person. I'm going to hold this against you because I placed an unrealistic expectation on you that you could not hold. Like that you were not responsible of holding, but I placed that on you before you even knew it.
Yeah.
By loving and thinking you were going to do something in return by my love.
Yeah, it sounds like something that we actually, like for myself, it's something I work on releasing.
Yeah.
It's not how I want my love to be. And also the expectation, like my goal is the unconditional love.
Yeah.
And unconditional means no condition. It means I will love anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway. And with a partner, it's that way. You know, it's something I find very challenging in partnerships because we do want something in return, and we do hold this expectation that a person can meet you, and we're hurt when they can't.
Yeah.
But if you really love the person, you would love them for where they are and how they are, and you wouldn't hold it against them. Not everyone's going to be where you are. And the more you travel down this path, the more you grow, the more you become like truly in tuned and loving of yourself.
Yeah.
There will be very few that can meet you there. And you still have to, not that you still have to, but you still want to love them fully.
Yeah.
And see them as someone who's growing. And that's what you end up promoting, you know? And if they find it difficult to meet you, you help them where they are and you meet them. I like to bring myself to meet others where they are, and I can communicate to them where they are.
Yeah.
That way I'm not taking it too far, or I'm not going where they can't get to, or limiting the amount of love that I might have to give out, you know, in smaller doses.
Yeah.
Not that I don't love you any less, but you may not be able to take or handle that level of attention and love and you know, consideration.
Wow.
But it's my favorite journey.
Well, thank you. I have so many thoughts circulating because it's such a beautiful door to go into so many different ways that we could take this. And a lot of what's surfacing right now is remembering that to give without expecting a return also it comes with money. If you're loaning someone money or you're giving someone something, love or this, give without the expectation of ever getting anything back is the start of the unconditional love, which is a practice. And I don't think it's as easy because society I don't think works around that idea of like just if you don't have it to give in that moment, if you give someone money but you don't have it, you're expecting them to give it back, that's already the start of, I feel like, what it means to not have that unconditional love. Yeah. Because in general, if we give and we're expecting them to give back, oh, I'm just going to borrow this, just release the expectation. If somebody asks for money and you don't have it at that moment, don't give it. Don't, because you're going to be expecting it to come back to you. So that's like the first thing that I felt like.
well, our true currency is our time.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the one thing that we can give, and we decide. You know, the money part is that physical, you know, manifestation that we have that we cling on to so much. But really, I feel this is just this conversation is really delving more into what attachment is.
Ooh,
You know,
yeah,
attachments are really what we're letting go of. We hold on to, I don't want to give too much because I'm afraid that I might not have, or I'm afraid that I might be taken advantage of or hurt. And
Yes.
so when it comes from fear, like, it's very difficult to give. But this is the attachment. I'm holding on to those probably non-existent outcomes.
Yes.
And the fears that, that's all fear really is our
Yeah.
imagination.
It's so
and
true.
They're not really real.
Yeah.
So the attachment part, it's a big one for me. I find like my definition of attachment
Yeah.
is anything that influences my internal state from the exterior world. So a person, a place, a thing that changes the way I feel inside is my attachment to it.
Yeah, it's so true. And how many people are so cling to attachments that relationships are ruined over those attachments? We become so attached.
Our whole civilization is based on attachments and things, and what can you get and gain, and how to be like, what's the word I'm thinking? Productive.
Yeah.
It's productivity, but to gain.
Yeah, it's so true. Oh, yeah, I love this idea. I want to bring it back to go into what we were talking about when it comes to loving people where they're at, and you were talking about meeting people where they're at, and I feel the idea that really came through is it reminded me of family and how we love family, because there are certain people that you are gonna love unconditionally in this life if you choose to, and you'll have a relationship only if you choose to with certain people, knowing that they're never gonna be able to meet you where you're at, and you're gonna have to meet them where they're at, knowing that there might not be the depth to someone. And whenever you talk, it might have a surface level. You might be at surface level, and that's where you're gonna be. There is no depth.
Right.
And you're gonna have to meet them there if you choose to have that relationship. And that can be sometimes the most, I feel like we have to take on a lot of grief within that knowing. Because especially when you're giving your time and energy, you know how valuable and precious time and energy is in this life. Yet you're spending it talking about celebrity gossip with the family members who don't have anything else.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, but I'm here and I'm choosing to love these people for where they're at. Yeah,
Yeah, well, it definitely can be challenging because I feel the same in ways of it's very difficult for me to continue conversations when my mind doesn't think about these things.
Yeah.
But for me to love those individuals and to see that's where they are, it's how they perceive their reality.
Yeah.
And, for me, I kind of put it in a state of remembering a younger version of myself that was there once. And they deserve to be loved and acknowledged and listened to. And maybe I don't say a whole lot, but I could still smile and I could still give my time and still appreciate them and see them on their journey, and maybe plant little seeds that can expand their way of perception a little bit. But it's not my goal. It's not my job to do it, but
just by you being you, you're planting a seed. Sometimes just us being the divine reflection for them is the planting of the seed. It's not like you're going and you're, intentionally trying to teach these people because you put yourself above them.
Right.
And we're not above anyone. We're not better. We're not made. We're not the chosen. I believe that the chosen is really the new spiritual way of bypassing or making yourself feel above other. I'm chosen. We're all chosen.
Yeah.
That's why we're all here. But you chose to go on a journey that maybe others haven't. You chose to do the healing work that maybe others haven't. That doesn't also make you better. It just makes you chose to go down the path so that you could help others. Be the reflection. And your path, yet you chose for it to be harder in some way and more challenging to develop that strength within you so that you could reflect to others a more deeper truth within themselves that they maybe haven't been given the idea of, because they haven't seen it before in their reality until you chose to do the work, and now you're reflecting to them a path that they could take if they want to, a path within themselves.
That's the
but
journey.
it's not your path that you took that you're reflecting. You're reflecting what they could have within themselves. The freedom, the love, the joy, the...
Not everyone chooses the path to go inward. A lot of people choose the path that's outward.
Yeah.
The path is, how do I build myself up? How do I gain, freedoms in my physical reality? And a lot of times we're in pursuit of the same things, but we're visualizing our realities differently. For my pursuit of freedom, I have to find it within.
Yeah.
For others, it's about gaining attachments and things and money and maybe the things that I want, or the person or the place or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's their reality. So their focus will be on the exterior. So to talk about the exterior world to someone who's on a journey of the interior world, we're on completely alternate paths, but with the same internal intention, I believe.
Yeah.
We're seeking happiness, we're seeking peace, we're seeking love, we're seeking, joy in our everyday. And, it's my belief that you can go on that journey in the exterior world, but it will eventually bring you to the interior. And when you decide to go on the interior, you will find where that journey can lead you.
Yeah.
And that those things are not my main focus,
Yeah. And when you say like interior and exterior, I want to go into what that means, the physical versus the spiritual. Because the physical is this 3D world, which can seem very real, and many people are operating from the 3D. Just like I'm this person, my identity, my personality, and they're so attached to the persona. And many people who are tapped in spiritually are going on a route that's within to your own inner truth. So you're figuring out and remembering, not even figuring out, but remembering who you are in the world, where there's so much material and so much attachment and so much ideas thrown at you to make you be operating from just the physical, like your everyday life, the things that you need to do, the people that you know, who you think you are. And I think that even more so why it's so hard for people to go on a spiritual journey is because they have to release the attachment to who they think they are. And they have to release attachment to their addiction of being unhappy, of being in fear, of guilt, of shame. And that's something that is I want to go into, because it's something that I've been really initiated into deeply recently, is really embodying what it is to have the addiction. You're not addicted to the food or the alcohol or any of it. You're addicted to the guilt of feel after you do it. If you keep falling into your sin, you're not attached to the sin. It's not addicted to what it is, the alcohol or the food. You're addicted to the feeling of guilt, of shaming yourself after you do it. So you keep falling into the cycle because of that addiction to the emotion. Some people are also addicted to the fear. Fear is an energy that releases a chemical in your body, makes you feel some type of way. So you can also become addicted to joy and addicted to good emotions, elevated emotions, once you shift and go on the journey. But you have to release so much of who you are or who you were to become who you're changing, who you see within, the happy person. Yeah, the person or the things that you want in life. If you want the love and the joy and what are you willing to release? What are you willing to let go of in order to become that version of yourself?
Yeah, it's always comfortable in the things that we do all the time or the way we feel. So when if it's fear-based, if it's guilt, shame, any of these, a lot of times these to me are chakra energies. These are levels of our chakras that we move through in our energies, and within each one is your mental state, your emotional state, your level of understanding. They're all kind of held up in these energy points. But we become very comfortable with what we're so used to. And if I've always been a fearful person, I'm more comfortable in the fearful state than I would be out of it, because out of it is so unfamiliar. And what is unfamiliar but scary?
The unknown.
The unknown, stepping into the dark, into the void.
Yes, exactly.
But to get comfortable with those states, then we see, what the previous states were and how those were not benefiting us, how it was not something I actually want to sit in anymore. You know, I love the, you know, talking about like who you want to be and how you want to feel. I believe it was my answer to the who am I. There is, like, I can say the observer, I can say there's a God self, there's a, you know, just consciousness itself that's beyond the physical form. You know, many of us just see this and say this is what's real, and to say that you are not just this is like, oh, that's too much. Can't go there, can't even think about it. But when I did my journey of who am I, my answer was I am who I wish to be. And who do I want to be? How do I want to feel? What do I want to bring to the world? How do I want to represent myself and give to others and create? And all these parts of the self are recreating the ego. Because I'll forever be ego. And the idea of, oh, it's an ego death. Ego death is shedding one into the other. And it's not separate, and there's no person who has no ego, and anyone who claims to be is an entirely other ego.
And the goal isn't to let the ego die, it is to embrace it as a part of yourself, and knowing that it's actually what is making up who you are and who you think you are. And it's actually there to keep you safe. And many people are like, my ego needs to die. The ego just is protecting you. You've been hurt before. So the ego knows that you've been hurt before. It doesn't want you to feel the hurt again. So it's going to keep you in your comfort. It's going to try and keep you safe, small, where you're not going to get hurt. So it's there to protect you. But understanding, you can turn to it in love. I understand that you're here to love me, to protect me. A part of yourself. This is a part of yourself that you're speaking to. I understand. But it's time for me to break free. It's time for me to elevate, to go outside of my shell, to go into the unknown, the depths of the darkness, and to really discover more of who I am, more of what's unknown to me. And so in doing so, we can show ourselves love in that process. I'm not going to hate you and shame you into change. I'm going to love you and talk to you gently through your process of becoming who you want to be, like you're saying. It's like that version of yourself that you can see within. And I don't think many people maybe have that small-mindedness when it comes to who is it that you want to be. And you've only been taught, like, well, I want to drive a nice truck and I want to have a nice house and I want to... Okay, that's material. What do you want to feel like? What do you want your day-to-day... How much do you want to give to others? Like, how can you be in service in this day? And many people are manifesting material things in their selfish greed, because we can manifest. And the ones who are above, not above, what the fuck? The ones who are control, I would say, what's a good way to say it? Like the ones who have a hold within
find
this
new
realm.
meaning.
Yeah.
You know, those
like,
that have found different depths within themselves of what they truly desire.
I'm more so talking about the energies that have a control in this realm of darkness, of, you know, like energies that are existing within this realm. They know that there's manifestation, and they use the collective manifestation to gain their, let me be mindful of how I say this. Like, they want to push their ideas, agendas within the people. So they take their ideas and they use manifestation to get further in their agendas, because they take what the people are not using and use it against them. You know, we have a power to manifest world peace, but people are manifesting a new truck for themselves because selfishly we're divided, separation. Like, we have such a twisted way, but we could really embody our power all together and understand we can all manifest collectively a much bigger dream that is working for everyone, but all of us are working for ourselves, because we've been taught to be in subdivisions, we've been taught to be divided. So we're like separating in our ideas of what is possible. We're still sitting in such a small consciousness, because consciousness is expanding, and in this new earth, a new wave, I believe it's like the dreams are getting bigger. We're getting bigger within our visions of what's possible for this earth.
Yeah, there's so much unawareness of manifestation. I think there's been for the longest period of time a massive unconscious manifestation constantly happening. When people speak about things, they come into our reality when people think about things and do things, and the amount and the level of unawareness of what they're speaking and calling in, and then the stuff happens, and then they blame it on whatever, you know, like this has been forever. And we're just now, you know, like I can't say what was thousands of years ago, but I could say now there is this new wave of starting to kind of breach into this new realization of our abilities and our actual power. You know, like to say we have power or magic or whatever, like, you know, it sounds so far-fetched, but it's only until you start realizing by, like, as you work within self, as you begin to clear yourself of these different things that we hold on to, find clarity within your wants and your desires and your heart and what you truly wish to feel, and then we begin speaking, the manifestations begin happening so fast and so powerful, and the level of trust and faith that we have to also build, and surrender, and all this stuff. But once you start actually witnessing them happening, then it starts like growing in a way. We start like, oh, this is real, this is something. Now the challenge becomes for me of being extremely mindful of the words that I say. And you know, when I almost can't even say in a like to say I want something, like I can't even really say it. Because even when I think I want something, I'm so cautious because I know this is always listening. It's like
the universe.
What do you want? Oh, okay. Well, now I'm going to set a series of things in play, and that's going to come to you. But it may not be how you thought you wanted it, and it may not be in the way that you thought you'd get it. The only thing I've also, you know, if we're going to bring it back into relationship and love, I find manifesting works to an extent, but manifesting specific people or things is not always, I have not found it to be really that possible or plausible. I feel we are free will, and will can't will other wills, because will is free.
There are laws of the universe.
So if I was like, oh, I want this one person, that one person is their own world and their own reality, and my manifestation maybe can bring me closer to that, or a scenario where I can run into, but I can't get into the minds and hearts without manipulation or something that to gain a certain type of manifestation. Now, calling in a person or a partner may not be the one you think it's going to be. You know, oh, I'm calling in a partner, but I have this idea, it's this one person. But it might not be. It's the world's going to work in ways, and that might have to fall apart, and you might have to have your heart broken so that you can actually be open to what it is you really were wanting. So we're going to try to bring it back around to like relationship and love and connection, manifestation.
So something that you said that really like stuck out to me was you said, well, we can't get it unless we manipulate it. Basically talking about how we like someone could manipulate energy to get that person, which isn't true because we can't go against God's will. Not to say that that's not true, but in general there are laws of the universe that we can't go against because there are certain things set in play already. We are just here experiencing it. So people have an idea of who they think they want or what they think they want. We're not here to imagine. We're here to imagine, to take that theta within ourselves, our inner child, and imagine worlds, but then release the images to God. Because the thing is, we imagine them to get excited about them, not to actually let it all play out in the way that we imagined it. That would be small to God, because the way that we imagine things is small-minded to God. We think that's the person I want. God is like, you think that's what you're worthy of? You don't even realize, because you're not seeing yourself clearly. Because if you saw yourself clearly, you would know that that person wouldn't even have a chance with the way that I see you. You think you want that job. You're playing yourself small because we are not seeing ourselves the way that God sees us. God sees us warrior, divine, starlight. Literally, we are made in the image of God. Most people are operating from, I'm not good enough. I'm ugly. I'm saying all these things about themselves that keep them small, which comes back to what you were saying about conscious language. What are you putting out there into the universe? It's listening. Divine is listening. Everything you're saying about yourself, I'm this, I'm not good enough, I'm looking this, even if you're doing it as a joke, I look ugly today. So you're going to attract in experiences that validate that feeling within you. You're going to get people who maybe look at you a little weird because you're going to all be looking for signs within your reality that are going to validate that feeling within you of not being good enough. Because then you can reaffirm that within yourself. I'm not good enough. Look at what just happened to me. See, they don't want me. I'm not good enough. You're going to keep wanting to get experiences, attracting in experiences that validate that emotion within yourself. So how we speak about ourselves, it's like that's our prayer to God. That's our service to God. All of our art, all of what we do, all of our expression, it's just in service to God. When we stop thinking about it as I'm in service to others, I'm giving back to God is talking about yourself in the highest light possible. It's sharing your artwork, knowing this is my service to God. This is my devotion to God. It's not about anyone or anything. This is what I'm called to do for that aspect. And when it comes to love, bringing it all back to love, it's like knowing that we're so worthy of love. Like that's all that life is just to be loved. But it's not in a pursuit of love from outside of us. It's in the pursuit of love within ourselves, wholeness. We were stripped from our wholeness of love by all of this worldly things, all of this. I read this quote and it said like the sickest joke of life is us forgetting that we are whole and like that we are loved. Or it said something along the lines of like we saw ourselves as kids as already whole and love, and like we never looked at ourselves as imperfect or whatever. But then somewhere along the way we were made to believe that we weren't beautiful and perfect and divine and love and all of it. And so now it's like the journey of remembering your love, and as you remember that love for yourself, you're attracting in unions that can reflect that. Like this union is a reflection of that love that I have for self. That's why it's so filled with love and safety and trust and faith, and I'm just like I can confide in it because I'm like I know that I've attracted this connection from that place of wholeness within myself. So it's a whole connection. It's a full connection. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I've had many relationships and friendships that were, they were a reflection of the in wholeness, of the not wholeness within myself. And I was attracting in people and friends, and it was reflecting the wounds and all of that within myself. So it is a much deeper level connection when I am in wholeness. And that comes with the romantic too. It all plays in.
Well, like just kind of bringing in that point of the journey of self-love and actually accepting yourself, forgiving yourself, seeing yourself, and truly loving yourself. There's, when we talk about God, like in service to God, the idea of it being of you not being God that's the separation. It's this. So if I'm really loved God and I knew that this is God
is self.
It is I. Not that I am God, but I am part of God. I am. God is service. God is here being and experiencing, and this Jaren is the ego that I've chosen for this form right now. And so my journey of loving God and faith is not an outside entity, but what is here all the time. And that's who actually is loving you all the time, who sees you, who guides you, and who allows you to get closer as you do the work to find yourself closer. Closer to you, closer to I. And we have these weights that keep us grounded, that keep us down. I'm a big believer in like releasing my fears, my shame, my guilt, what I fear to lose, speaking truths, what my personal lies are, the illusion that I think I see versus what is real. And so these types of things are what hold us down, that keep us from being elevated. And as we release them, we gain new levels of perception, new levels of consciousness, new levels of sharing and experiencing our realities with others, until we reach, higher forms
Elevated
of
emotions, elevated forms.
You could say our whole self, but I don't even know what that means either, because
we really
I think
know.
it's forever. I think you will always continually be, elevating yourself and raising yourself and falling.
Yep.
We'll go up and down all the time.
All the time. And something I heard from Ram Dass is like, it's the joy of falling and getting back up. It's like, it's going to keep happening. Let yourself fall and get back up and laugh at yourself. And I'm so glad that you clarified for others who are listening, the God self. When the service to God is being in service to yourself, when you're against your art or your expression, or God is placing that idea, you're receiving ideas. You're receiving those ideas, but you're not acting on them. You're going against God, which is self. You're going against your higher self, who is you're asking for a different reality. God is giving you those ideas. Your higher self is gifting you the ideas from a timeline that you've already walked. Time is now, linear. Everything is existing here and now. You've already experienced the doors that you've all walked in. You just have free will to choose in this timeline which door you're going to walk in. So your higher self, who's already walked in the timeline of what you're asking for, that desire, that future, I'm going to be a podcast. My higher self was already living out this, gifting me seeds of, ideas. When I act on them, I'm in service to God, because I'm doing what I'm being gifted. But when I don't act on the services that God is, when I'm not in service to God, when I'm not aligned with myself, I go against my own art, my own God, my own expression.
Yeah.
That's when we sit in those lower emotions, and we can't be elevated. Like you're saying, you have to release the blockages, move out the gunk. You have to let yourself express your voice, show up, be seen, be heard, to even reach the elevated emotions. And that requires the faith and love for yourself. And God is there whispering that voice of love. You got this. That self-worth, fuck it.
Yeah.
Don't listen to, God is there, encourage. God is, if people have questions, how do I know God is talking to me? God is the voice within that will always encourage you. God is the voice within yourself that's like, you got this. You're sexy today. You look great. You're doing great. That's the God higher self voice within you. So if you're questioning, how do I know? It's going to come through like your voice. You're going to hear God like yourself. It's not a different voice. It's like...
No. I actually, for me, my relationship to the God self is...
Yeah. I would love to hear.
The silent observer who already knows.
Yeah.
And I'm the one playing around with all my thoughts and talking and circling, and then when I finally shut up and listen, it's just this. And then I'm like, I knew that, and I was avoiding that, and silly me,
That's such a good way to put it.
I always find anytime I get to my closer version to that, God conscious self that sits there, the observer, the be self,
Ooh, I love that.
What was I saying?
The closer you get.
The closer, yeah. I actually lost it when I was going on, but anyway. Yeah.
Okay, well, let me bring it back. Let me see if I can spark
back.
The interest within it.
What was it? Yeah. What was I
So we
trying
were
to say?
talking about how, as the thinking mind is always thinking. It's thinking and thinking and thinking, and it's very loud. God comes through thought.
Oh, the voice. We were talking about the voice
Of God.
of God.
Uh-huh.
Oh, so I was saying
Bring it back.
yeah, it's kind of like the grand joke that we play on ourselves,
Yeah.
and it's hide and seek. Peekaboo, it's you.
Been you all
It's
along.
been you, and it's not just you,
Yeah.
but it's you,
And it's you.
and it's you,
And
yeah.
it's you. And right now, I'm speaking, and you're me, and it's me listening. It's like playing out roles within everyone and every being.
Right.
There's the me that's speaking right now, and there's the me that's listening. And we are just
This-
playing out roles within all the other beings.
As I deepen the love for this self,
Yeah.
it's reflected where now I see myself in you. And it's how I can connect with others, because if I see someone in let's say a lower vibration or a state of hurt or suffering, and I have allowed myself to see myself, then I know that place. I know what it was like. I know how it felt. Now I have compassion, empathy, sympathy, and I can relate to them. And if they're doing things wrong and they're making wrong decisions and speaking negatively, I can still find compassion and forgiveness because I found it for myself. And I can't judge them. And I can't expect them to be more, because I too have been there. And it's only because I've allowed myself to see myself that I can now see others more clearly. Jesus, the mentality of Jesus and discovering, when he says, I am the Son of God, or, I am the embodiment. The level of Jesus' love is when we find that deep love for yourself. You see everyone and everything as children, and you love them so much, and you want the best for them, even if they're going to crucify you
and hurt themselves.
You're still I still love you, and I'm so sorry that you're in that suffering. And it's
so good.
It's a child. I can only relate it because it's what we would treasure and love the most is that child, and it's also what makes us feel the most love. The most love I've ever felt when I've connected to my all mother is when she cradles me like a baby, and I feel so loved and held and safe. And so that's the same type of level of love that I wish to reach in my own lifetime, is how can I see everyone and everything as a child that I wish to hold, embrace, support, lift up, and I want to love them, even if they can't return that love. It's okay.
It's so sweet.
It's okay.
It's so beautiful to see the way that you imagine it, within, that helps you to understand love in the unconditional, nurturing, gentle, motherly way. And I love the aspects. It is all achieving the Christ consciousness. To be closest to God is to be like Christ. Christ was closest to God. Christ had a lot of energy of love, more than many people are operating in today's society within themselves. The love that we have to hold, there's not so much room to hold love because there's so much darkness and hatred and fear. So it's like many humans are operating with just a little space for love and a lot of space for hatred. And the only reason that we can even see the darkness within each other is because we've seen it within ourselves. I can only see that you're going through that because I've been through it. Everything outside of me is only a reflection of what's in, and my perception of you is only from the lens in which I perceive myself. So everything that I'm judging within another is what I'm still judging in myself. Everything I'm lacking to give and accept and love within another is what I'm still lacking and loving in myself. So it's understanding to point the finger back within ourselves to really be able to see that we are what we don't like in everyone, and we're also what we love in everyone. And I love the aspect of the only reason that you can even love others is because you've felt and found that love within yourself. When we are elevated in our emotions, that requires compassion, empathy, forgiveness, faith, love, acceptance. All of those are elevated emotions. You have the lower emotions, which is fear, hatred, judgment, all those. So when you're in those higher elevated emotions, right, you have found it within yourself. The love, the acceptance, the joy, the compassion. And when you're in that state within yourself, you really have that to give to another. But some people don't have it to give. That's where that compassion comes in. I understand you're going through your process, and you're struggling possibly to love yourself. So you can't love me where you haven't even met yourself. You can only meet me as deeply as you met yourself, so I'm not going to take it personally. I know that what you're going through has nothing to do with me. It's the fact that you're still lacking in giving that love to yourself. So how could I expect you to give me that love when you still have to give it to yourself? Sometimes we're expecting people to be able to meet us when they're struggling to even meet themselves. Like, I know that right now you can't show up for me. You're still trying to show up for yourself right now. Take space to show up for yourself. But many times people are leaning on one another like sucking, like I need your energy, instead of going within themselves, going to God. I think that that's also where we can't hold, where we're not meant to hold other people's darkness. It's not our job. Even when you're doing the work, it's still not my job to hold the ways in which you're not loving yourself. I can't give you that love. I can only be here to reflect to you your own truth, but I can't give you love. I can't give you God can only give you the ideas, the inspiration, the strength. God can't literally move your leg and make you walk or do anything that you're not doing. If you're choosing not to do the work, God can't intervene because we have free will. You have to choose to do the work. You have to choose to take the step. Choose to give yourself the love. Choose to talk to yourself in kind, nice ways. Choose to believe in yourself and choose to have faith that you're doing everything you're meant to be doing. But that's still our choice. God can't intervene, just as we can't intervene in anyone else's free will. It's like I can just watch you, and I can either watch you self-sabotage and neglect yourself, and I can watch you self-destruct time and time again and fall back into the addiction and I've watched myself do it. So I'm watching you and I'm watching myself, and I'm like, you got this! You got this! Don't do it! But people are going to continue to be in their cycles for as long as they need to be. And that's just giving people the space to be like, okay.
There's beauty in that.
Yeah.
Because every time that we, let's say we falter, we fall, we drop back in, you get more and more clear of finding your path out. And the more clear I am in finding my resolution and my way out of something, I can then see it for others and share it.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I also have this belief that, like, as we do this journey of ascending ourselves, there is levels of deep understanding that comes with it. And it's not that I have to go and learn anything or do, but as I begin to find the ways and the paths of clearing things, of letting go, of creating new perceptions, and there is this level of awareness that comes with it. And like the elevated understanding to where you see things completely new and different, and your level of awareness and understanding is just in that resonance. Like we have these resonance, these vibrations that we kind of move through, but within each one is kind of like a database. And when you move into that space, you now see it. You now understand it. You have clear ways of expressing it. And you didn't have to read a book and do a seminar and go take a retreat. You just had to do the work. You had to face yourself.
Ooh,
you know?
So good.
And we can face ourselves, like, I become very clear in the things I need to work on when I have the feeling and sensation that comes up. Oh, I'm feeling negative about myself today, or I'm feeling fearful of something. I'm like, okay, well, because I'm having that feeling, that's what I need to work on.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. That's my resonance.
It's so beautiful. And that's where true authenticity stems from your own experience. Yeah. People who are speaking on things yet not living them, that's not authentic. And that person can't sustain whatever it is that they're teaching, because it's not who they be. It's not who they be. So they're trying to teach something that they haven't even lived. The people who are truly making the biggest impact are people who have lived those experiences. And you can tell by who they were to who they are, by how they love on themselves and show up for themselves. It's like that's how you can know who to trust when you're looking for the authenticity. Or one, you have to find it within yourself. So if you're not being authentic, you're gonna look at someone who's inauthentic and think they're great. They have but the thing is, the more authentic that you are, because you've lived out experiences, you will be able to attract in others who are like, you know that they went through stuff. You know that what they're talking about and what they're living is something that they've lived themselves. That's someone who can actually reflect in the insights, because you've went to the depths to get the keys and unlocked whatever it was within yourself. That's the true living the experience. Like, I wouldn't have the keys to get over the addiction unless I went into the darkness. And literally, the way I perceive it is like, I went into the darkness and there were these golden keys within these treasure chests, and I had to go in and I had to find the lock to the treasure chest to even get out the key that I can now have within me. So every time I feel tempted, I can unlock the key that I went into the darkness to get, to help myself through the darkness. on the days where I feel sluggish, on the days where I feel sad, on the days where I feel tempted, on the days where I feel, it's like, okay, but I have a key and I know now what to do. I'm going to let myself be. I'm not going to judge myself or shame myself or guilt myself into thinking I should be doing I'm just going to let myself literally sit in this feeling and be like, yep, and here we are.
That's acceptance. That's forgiveness.
Yeah.
Something I also feel that kind of happens as we begin to move and elevate ourselves.
Yeah.
I feel that it's kind of like a tree. We could put it as a tree.
I like that.
The tree gets more fragile and skinnier and much easier to fall as we climb, as we ascend, because there's a level of it's like a level that you are working to maintain and hold balance.
Yeah. But
the branches become fragile and thin. That's why if you ever hear like the guru complex or it basically goes like the person who, does all this work to gain this understanding and knowledge to sit in the chair to teach others, and then claims himself to be the guru that is better than you, falls. And they fall all the way back down. They fall into that ego. They think of themselves as better and powerful, they know and you don't, and you just fell to the base. And it's because that it's almost like an edge of a knife where you have to be humbled, you have to be balanced, you have to move with this true intention and knowing that what you're wanting to share and give is pure, and still seeing yourself as no greater or better than, and I feel that the challenges, they become more intense, more more, I don't know, it's hard to even express, but as you start to gain those levels of understanding, and you now have to make choices, you have to be more aware, more conscious of the words and the actions and everything, and that becomes much more difficult than when it's at the base levels and we build a little and fall. You're just kind of falling into where you've been, versus the climb, and then when you fall, and if you fall hard and deep, it feels like, I did all that work, I have to do it all over again, but you know the path. You remember the branches that you climbed and reached and grabbed, and you can do it again. You have faith. But
that is probably one of my favorite analogies that I've heard, to put it into perspective, the feeling, because it is, once you get to the top, it gets skinnier up there, and from the base you're climbing, you're feeling good, you're energetic, you're building yourself up, you're building up this persona, this personality, this identity, you're doing great as you're getting up there, and you get to the top, and then God humbles you. As you fall, you're humble. In humility, you sit. Now you have a choice. Yeah, you're going to get back up. Are you going to pick yourself up and do it again? Or are you going to rest within your defeat? Many of us have fallen time and time again, and we will continue to fall. But many people let the fall overcome them, and that's where they stay the rest of their life. And something that I had talked about the other day is when some people fall and they never want to go into the deep end again. They never want to get up to the top again. So they're like, I'm just going to stay in my misery. Excuses, whatever the story might be that you keep telling yourself as to why you're not going to pick yourself back up and try again in life. In whatever way it might be, it takes so much strength and courage to pick yourself back up time and time again. And many people see you when you're up, but they never saw you when you fell down time and time again on your face. How many times people have fallen within the darkness that people aren't seeing, because they only see you when you're light. They see you when you're showing up in your greatness. They don't know what it took for you to be that version. They don't know how many times you had to fall out of the tree so God could teach you the humbleness and humility that it required for you to sit at the top. Because when you're sitting at the top, everyone thinks, that person's so great, they're at the top. Do you know what it takes to be at the top? Do you know what it takes, what that person has to hold within themselves? The faith, the acceptance, the blocking out any projections, the haters, all of it. All of that, and it's that's so desired, but we don't realize the weight of which one is holding, truly, and what they had to go through to become that version. So when we want to be like someone, we take every step that person took and tell me if you want to be like them. Every time that we fall again, I think it does require just like a more level of now wisdom and knowing as you're climbing back up, not to be so cautious, but to be mindful of your words, of your actions, of the things that you're calling yourself, the things that you're claiming to be as you're going on this journey, because there's a lot of when you do build up that persona that now people are expecting, or, you know, like if someone's going to call himself a guru, but why are you doing this? Someone wants to call himself a Christian, but why are you doing this? You have a lot, once you start to build up, even when it comes to coaching for myself, when it comes to coaching, I'm going to have to live out everything that I'm coaching, which means if it's not true and authentic to me, I'm going to fall in my own offering many times.
I respect a teacher who's honest, a teacher who shows their flaw. The teacher who claims to be only the student sharing what they've learned is the humble teacher that I would listen to. And the one that says, I did it and I know already, I don't believe you.
Yeah, like the conversations where you have with people and they're like, I know.
Oh yeah, I already know. I know all about it. I know how to be, Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've lived and done
I did
it
the
all.
work already.
Yes.
You did it already. You're all done?
Yeah.
That's it?
That would be the one who has forgotten that we're the students of life, and being the student of life, it's not a bad thing to be.
No.
The master comes with much.
It's a practice. It's
Right.
a continuous. Like, that's kind of why I relate, like, when individuals talk about going on psychedelic journeys, for instance.
Yeah.
Oh, I did ayahuasca, and now I know. Well,
What do you know? That you know nothing?
What it does is
To bring it back to the idea of like when we fall and knowing that someone continuing to fall in their addiction or fall in the, whatever it might be, that is the part of the process, and letting them fall. And the hardest thing is sitting back and you're watching the sloth fall out of the tree. You just keep watching it and you're like, I know a better way for you to go. If you would just step back, look at the tree, you would know that you can go on the other side and it's a better route for you to go. That's God watching. That's God, the higher self, envisioning the physical self. That's the higher mind watching you in your physical reality. Like, just take a step back. Stop your mind from thinking. Stop the thoughts. Stop the patterns. Sit with yourself so that I can give you the new route that you're meant to take that's going to get you to where you want to go. It's going to be a much easier route for you to take up the tree. And so it's a humbling thing to know, sometimes we have to be in our own patterns because God is working with us at our own pace. Sometimes we have to keep falling in our own addiction for years and years and years. But to God, it was like that. It wasn't the years. It was being patient through that process, knowing once you come out of it, and there's never really coming out of it fully. You're just, what's next?
Yeah.
What is it? Addicted to not being addicted? Is it attached to?
It's like a staircase that goes on forever.
Forever.
But a lot of times when we fall and we make that trek back up, we find ourselves further along the path. And that's really the goal, is like viewing the falls as a positive, viewing them as times to see why you fell, what was it that you slipped on that caused it, and how can I find stability in moving forward, and these are the constants. Whenever I have things and emotions, when I feel like I've fallen, or in my state of being, or let's say there was a failure with something, I want to look at it in a way of, I'm thankful for it, I'm grateful for it, and there's something that I can learn from it and grow from, and that it's okay.
I love that.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. And that's growing in love with the process of becoming. And it's how we perceive it, the meaning that we give to it. You can fall every time and be like, I suck. I'm just bad at climbing. I'm not meant for this life. Or you can perceive it as, this is building me, strengthening me, getting me more prepared for the things that I'm asking for. It's giving me more space to be able to hold what I'm asking for as I'm continuing to do this. But it is just like growing in love with all of life and all the emotions that we're like experiencing, like all the imperfections and all the times that we disappoint others and disappoint ourselves. And
it's why I believe we're actually here. That's our favorite part.
Yeah.
When you reach the top of the mountain, You see that it's down in the valley that all the life is happening.
Ooh.
And that's where you actually want to be.
Mm.
At the top of the mountain is singular. It's alone.
Lonely.
It's the end of the trail.
Yeah.
And it was the trail that was the best part. Because your view is of life. Your view is
So
of everything
good.
that's happening. And you're like, that's the beauty.
Whoa.
You know? So you go back, but you have to meet them where they are.
Yeah.
If they didn't climb that mountain, they maybe didn't see the peak.
Whoa.
But you can still love them. And you can tell them what a heck of a view it is.
From afar.
It's a
like
great
you're really
view.
painting a picture within my mind. That's such a beautiful picture. Many people do, but you're climbing in most times alone. And you get to that top, that peak.
Yeah.
And you look back and you're like, wow, it was actually just the journey, because what does being at the top mean? You're alone, you sit there. All of the journey to get there was what it was about. And who you bring along with you on the journey is what counts.
Mm-hmm.
Who is coming with you? Who are you? You're meant to go out and bring and help a friend, lend a hand to help others also come with you. But if you're focused selfishly, like I gotta get somewhere. Many people get to the top, they say fame, right? Fame is the top. If that's the top of what society has fed the idea. They get there and they realize, wow, it's lonely. Where are my friends? Where are my real friends? What is money to you when you don't have friends and community and people who love you? You're sit on your deathbed one day and you have no one around you, but you have money and you had fame. What are we valuing?
Yeah.
What's most valuable? Love.
Love, yeah. I do appreciate that analogy of the hike, though.
I really love that.
It's like when you first start a hike, there's lots of people.
The
And you
village,
see,
right?
Yeah, you see
Yeah.
everybody who's on that trail.
Yeah.
And as you get higher and higher, the trail thins until you find yourself all alone on the path. And then you can't see anyone around that can meet you where you are because you've climbed so high.
Whoa.
You know, like there's a good kind of analogy within the hiking path.
I really see the village. I see the path. I see all of it. It's true. Nobody else might be on the trail with you. And then what was it for?
What was it for?
What was your intention? You know, I really don't think many people are sitting in the awareness that, what is at the top that you think is there? What's the idea that you think is the top? Because when we remember that the journey is the destination, the top wasn't the destination. There was never anything. It was the illusion. It's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I'm gonna get to this pot, but you're rushing through the whole journey because you're like, once I get the pot, then my life starts. That's when everything starts. I get to the top, I'm gonna be someone. I'm gonna be the first person to climb the top of this mountain. I'm gonna be the first person to get this pot of gold, and I'll have so much money I can finally live my life. And then your life's over by the time you get there. You have no one or nothing or your experiences.
I believe the top of the mountain is, for me at least, in my perception, it gives me the ability to see the beauty of what's around me. It gives me the perspective to acknowledge. So the higher on that path I go, and as I look around the world, I'm able to see the beauty that I didn't see before. I'm able to appreciate all the details of that trail that maybe when I was climbing it, I was frustrated and it was exhausting and I couldn't perceive how beautiful that was.
Yeah.
But it's from that higher vantage point that I can see how beautiful it really was. And that's what I'm striving for in my reality. I'm striving to perceive my reality as something so beautiful that I treasure it. And I'm so grateful in every moment. Because there's so much to see and notice. You know?
So could we say then for you, it's the feeling of accomplishment. When you get to the top, you feel accomplished. You're like, I got through all of the frustration, and now I can look at all of what was and feel like, I've done this.
Accomplishment is good, but I wouldn't say that that's my top. My top would be appreciation, would be gratitude.
Gratitude.
It would be this look how beautiful this really was.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not even about me anymore.
And then
it's just about what this is.
And then on the way down, you're just like, in gratitude.
How are you? How's your journey? Look at you. Oh, you're climbing. I love love you. You look
Yeah.
great. Look at you.
Totally shifted because you had to go up to be able to receive that level of gratitude to then make your journey back down.
How much further is it to the top? You've got a bit of a trek. It's a bit up there, but you're gonna do great.
You got this.
You got this.
It's an amazing view.
Yeah.
Give them that little spark of motivation to get up there.
You know?
And
This area might be challenging. I can give you a little couple pointers of how you can overcome that.
yeah, well,
If you'd like.
the other idea I just want to throw in real quick is many people who are older that are interviewed talk about how when you have a journey, but you don't have anyone to share it with. Talking about how you do so much in life, but there's no one to share it with. And I think that ties back into love, bringing us all around of like, you know, you can get really far in life and you can be so focused on yourself and your healing and all this growth and all this, but you shut out every opportunity to share the love with someone, share the growth and that healing with someone. And I think many times, many of us are viewing this healing process as like a project. No, I need to be healed before I get in union, before I have this friendship, before I have this romance. And God has gifted us with unions to be able to be seen, to share life with, to share our love with, to be heal together and grow together. And I think that is sometimes something that it's something I had to get over because I kept thinking that I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I have more.
Yeah. It's a big one because to include another means there's going to be a level of sacrifice of self, where it's not about choosing just me anymore.
Yeah.
If I'm going to choose another, it means I'm going to have to choose them over me in certain things.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard, like, and especially a lot of us talk about the self-love journey, choose yourself,
Yeah.
and this is very challenging for relationships to happen because it's not about choosing yourself. It's about choosing another. And that means you're choosing them over yourself. Not that like, oh, I'm going to just do for them and not for me, but it means I want this person in my life. I want to love this person. I want to be held by this person. And because of that, I will choose them. I will, withstand. I will hold. I will support. I will do all these other things that is not in my benefit, but for them.
Yeah.
And that's also what I believe, like my highest self is going to reach a point where it's not about me. It's about you. And that's all that really matters.
I can really respect that coming from you because I feel like you're such a selfless lover, like a giver. So you would put that person's happiness, knowing that their happiness is your happiness.
Yeah.
Like giving to that person, giving a lot of sacrifice of your own independence and individuality, which is what marriage and union is. Union is that you're choosing to merge souls into one. Like you're really choosing to give up your own being, truly, to be in union.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be just a singular path anymore. I want to share my path, which means I must surrender that singular path and merge with now another.
Yeah, this is good for me to hear right now. Because I'm thinking maybe like a lot of my attachment is wanting to still be on my own path and not ready maybe.
So many of us.
Yeah.
I want for myself and that doesn't feel right for me and I want to make sure I'm free and I can go and do this and we choose the self, which is important, and you are meant to choose yourself in so many ways, but when you are wanting like sacred union, actual love and relationship, it means you are choosing them over that. And then when you are with them, hopefully there's a level of communication, a level of trust, a level of openness that allows you to branch on your paths to continue your journey while still holding hands.
Yeah. And I would say that the analogy is the divine masculine is like the river bank and divine feminine is like the river. So if the bank has already created some structure and you get into union, now the feminine is the river that's meant to flow within the bank you've created. So life will change. I'm going to now flow into a different structure that the divine masculine is creating. That also can be very scary, to give the control, surrender into...
To be held by another means you must trust them.
Yeah, I gotta trust the
fall.
walls of the river.
You got me, right? You got me?
And when you've been hurt so many times, you're just like, this is
So
scary.
many people dropped me and left me and
Yeah.
I don't know if this will be the same thing again.
But that comes in all relationships too.
Of course.
All
Of course.
trust, love, lights, joy, being held, letting yourself receive and to give, and to mess up, and to have to apologize and say sorry, and do it all over and over, and it keeps.
Yeah.
And it keeps
And
on going.
Keeps on going.
Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, my love. I love you. Thanks for your wisdom, for your knowledge, your understanding.